Hi everyone, my name is Mark Cook and I'm a longtime game developer. My presentation today is 10 games in 10 hours, where I tried to create 10 video games in 1 hour or less per game. And all the games that you're going to see in this presentation are brand new, and they were created for Pecha Kucha 62 in Tokyo, and I hope you'll enjoy them. So the questions that I wanted to answer when doing this experiment were, first, as a personal challenge, can I actually build the games? Second, will any of them be interesting? Probably not, but we'll see. And finally, what processes work well for fast prototyping? And with that said, let's go to the first game. So this is a rhythm game intended for 2 players, where you try to say Pecha Kucha. But if you make a mistake, you can see that sound comes out. And I heard that people overseas were having a hard time learning how to say Pecha Kucha, so this may be able to help them. But right away on the first game here, it took more than an hour, so that was a failure. And the reason for that was I was spending too much time setting up the iPhone project, and you really need to set up your tools ahead of time. Lesson learned. Here's the next game. This is called Shinjuku's Shame. It's in Nishi Shinjuku, and the character you see here is a homeless guy, and you get points as you stare at him. But if he makes eye contact with you, you feel intense shame and you lose your points. It's kind of a joke, but I feel like I've seen people in that area acting like that with the homeless people that are there. Kind of sad. So unfortunately, this game also took too long to build, and I spent too much time trying to make art, and clearly I'm not a great artist, so my lesson for these prototypes was use whatever you can find. Pull stuff down from the internet, use whatever's out there. They're not going to be shipping, so it's okay. Alright, here's the next game. This is a cynical look at working in the game industry. The character here is at work all the time. You can see his wife, she's crying in the little mini VTR TV view up there in the corner because she never sees her husband. He only has a few options he can do here, and if you press the Go Home button, you are fired from your job, but you also win the game. So mull that one over. Unfortunately, this game also took too long to build, and this one had too many rules, too many systems interacting with each other, and it was just impossible to build in an hour. And at this point, I was feeling really frustrated. All the games they were all taking too long to build. None were getting done under an hour. And I think you can see my frustration right here. Here I am taking it out on my iPhone, screaming into it. And although that was kind of fun, this is actually a game. This is called screencast, where the longer and more powerfully you scream into your phone, the more points you get. And was I able to build this in under an hour? Yes! So this only took 12 minutes. But the surprising thing was, competing with my friends for this game was actually kind of fun. So what the kind of lesson there for me is that really small and tiny games can actually be enjoyable if you're doing this kind of quick prototyping. It doesn't have to be a big idea. And using the microphone kind of led me to this next idea.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
This is a voice-controlled Space Invader game. It's kind of embarrassing to hear myself yelling here, but... Oh, and it was also kind of fun to play around with this game, except for the fact my neighbors thought I was dying. But I actually think this works pretty well, and this could be a real game if built out more fully. And the lesson here for me was that the first microphone game was, simple, but kind of fun. So just exploring more with the microphone, building on one prototype with another, in the same idea space can reveal new and interesting things. And here's the next game. This is surfing on sine waves. The little ball there can surf on the waves that would normally be in motion and jump and do little tricks. And the interesting thing about this is that it's completely mathematically generated. There's nothing pre-drawn in Photoshop or anything. And I think it's the most attractive of all the games that were produced for this presentation. So this didn't take that long to make, and the kind of lesson for me was that procedurally generated art can be beautiful and save you time, especially if you know your math. This next game is for architects who want to play an architecture Tetris kind of thing. So it's called Architris, and onto the blueprint these rooms from a blueprint fall down, and you try to lay out a blueprint that kind of makes sense. So if you put 6 bathrooms next to each other, you won't be able to clear any lines or get any points, but if you put like rooms that are coherent next to one another, then you'll do well. And although I wasn't able to implement all the ideas that I wanted to for this game, I still think the visual was very powerful, and it looks to me like this could be a cool game where, you know, the blueprint aesthetic could be really powerful. Alright, this is Pada Pada Punch. This is made for salarymen in Japan who are sick of the youth culture here and want to take out their aggression peacefully. Unfortunately, the game isn't that interesting. You just click on the character to throw a fist, and the interaction just isn't there, and it's kind of boring, but it was a good lesson. Alright, here's the next game, Blind Masseuse. In this game, you try to give a massage, and your only really feedback is sound. So if your client is like, ooh, then that means you're doing well, and if they're like, oh, that means you're doing bad. I really wanted to explore a non-graphical interface, and it was kind of fun. I wouldn't call it a success, but it was interesting. And here's the last game. This is Basket Bomb. I love basketball, and I love physics games, so I wanted to try to create something that kind of brought the two worlds together. But the lesson for me here was that it was just not enough time to really set up a fun physics environment for me. So, in the end, was it possible? Yes, it was. It took just under 10 hours. Were the games interesting? I'll let you decide. Maybe, maybe not. You definitely cannot force creativity. And tips for the 1-hour game process: use tools you know, and test small concepts. Don't try to build full games. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.